So I wanted to do a dramatic entrance to my first video showing my face on camera. However, I am currently sitting next to my desk right here, and it's a little awkward to move myself around. Hi, my name is Joy, and you may know me from Wattpad. I'm going to be showing you tips on how to prepare for NaNoWriMo. If you're unfamiliar with what NaNoWriMo is, it's a competition that takes place in November, from November 1st to 30th. And it's basically a challenge where you task yourself with writing 50,000 words in 30 days. Now, if you've never done this challenge before, that sounds like a lot. And it is. It's a lot of hard work to be able to binge write, as I call it, a draft, but it's worth it. Reasons to participate in NaNoWriMo. Number 1, teaches you commitment. Number 2, there are incentives you can win if you complete the challenge. Sometimes they give you prices off for writing software and things like that. And there's a whole community around NaNoWriMo, and you can meet some great people just by doing the challenge. So it's definitely worth it, in my opinion, to at least try it out. It's not for everyone, but it's at least worth trying out. Now, we're going to get into how I completed it. So I completed this draft in 21 days with 57,000 words, give or take, at the end. So I actually completed it in an abnormally low amount of time, even for the challenge itself. So this is not going to teach you how to complete 50,000 words in 3 weeks. It's really cool if you can do that, but I understand I tend to be an overwriter in a lot of ways. With that in mind, I think that I have a lot of tips for helping people reach that goal in 30 days. So let's start with the first one, which is not really related to the writing itself, but I think it's so important. So I have several health conditions. I'm not going to go into that here. And because of this, I think that the number one tip I can offer to people during this challenge is stay healthy. At least for me, I find that if I'm not feeling well, it will definitely impact my ability to write. So if at all possible, you want to eat nutritious meals, limit sugar or cut it out completely, because it can cause brain fog and lack of concentration, which a lot of writers, I find, tend to confuse with writer's block. They're not the same thing. Just limit sugar and eat nutritious meals. Go to bed on time, sleep 8 to 9 hours a night. It's okay to get sleep. And then stay active. You can walk around your neighborhood and whatnot. I find that when I'm walking, I have a lot more inspiration for my books. Moving on to number 2 is to just write. You want to complete a draft. This is not going to be a final copy. I wouldn't recommend even rewriting for NaNoWriMo, because for some people, rewriting takes some longer time than the first draft. First draft is easiest to aim a word count for, because you just want quantity. You just want to get it done. So I know that the inner critic is hard to silence, but don't worry about how good or bad it is. Just write. That will help you so much. The third tip is to keep a journal. I am an avid journal keeper. I have this journal right here that I used for Allura and Starwalker. It's almost full. But I used it for Allura. It was very helpful in planning out, characters, random ideas that I had, plot lines, and things like that. It is so helpful just in general as a writer to keep a journal. You want to be able to jot down those ideas. The next thing to do is to outline your work. All the pantsers, they just fled. I'm not saying you have to do every scene. I personally like to outline every scene, because the more plan I have, the more my story has a direction. You don't have to do as much of an outline as I do. Even just knowing the general outline of your plot from start to finish can give you a lot of direction, especially since you have a time limit on this project. You have 30 days. No judgment on pantsers. I was a pantser for a long time. But for many pantsers, they tend to go in and they're willing to spend a lot of time just taking a step back from their work and looking at the piece to figure out what direction it should go in next. That's not a bad method. The problem is that you don't want to spend precious time that you could be writing during NaNoWriMo figuring out what direction your story is going in. That's not a bad thing to do, but it's good to have at least some trajectory of where you want it to go. And the more outlining, in my opinion, the better. That's just me. The outline can change, too. It doesn't have to be super stringent and unchangeable, because that's just as bad as going in with absolutely no plan at all. However, you should have some sort of plan because you do have a time limit. The next two tips are going to be like together. So that brings me into my next point. You want to aim for more than the minimum. If we're dividing 50,000 by 30 days, you have to write approximately 1,667 words per day at least. However, that doesn't allow for you to take any off days. I know that for me, I had to plan ahead last year when I was doing NaNoWriMo because I was worried that I would get sick and unable to write one day. And so I wanted to be able to fall back on that without dipping below the slope. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is to round up. And by that, I mean write 2,000 words a day. If I had to write 2,000 words in one sitting, that would be really exhausting. But one way that you can make this easier for yourself is divide it up throughout the day. So for me personally, when I was doing NaNoWriMo 2019, I would do 1,000 words right when I woke up because my mind wasn't like exhausted from school or anything like that. And then right after I finished school, I would come upstairs and I would write again. And that system helped me reach that 2,000 word minimum for that day. Now, you can divide it up in other ways. Maybe you want to write 500 words 4 times a day or something like that. You should aim for higher than the minimum, or else you're going to be floundering a lot. I think that you should also set a scene goal, not a word goal. And this is where I think that outlining each scene helps a lot when you're talking about dividing up the workload. So in Allura, I don't remember exactly how many scenes I had going into the first draft. It was somewhere around 90 to 95. I spaced out the scenes over 30 days. So basically I typed in the whatever number it was, like 90 to 95, into a calculator, and then I divided it by 30, and that gave me about 4 scenes per day. Another way you could do it is you could also divide it up 2 scenes one time of the day, 2 scenes in another, 1 scene, 1 scene, 1 scene, 1 scene. But the reason you should do it by scene is, number one, it will ensure that you finish or get close to finishing your book by the deadline. And number 2, it can actually increase your word count further from 2K. So I found myself, by the time I was done writing Allura most days, I had more than 2,000 words in my doc. I think that the highest I had one day was 4,089 words. That's just an option you can try. Planning isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I do think that it can be very helpful. Another thing you can do is give yourself incentive. I knew that once I was done, I would be ordering this t-shirt, NaNoWriMo Winner 2019. And that was something that I really wanted to look forward to. I didn't actually take advantage of any of the prizes that NaNoWriMo gave me, like the discounts on writing software and stuff, because I didn't have a computer at the time. And so I didn't do that, but I did choose to order a t-shirt when I was done. I know it's like, well, Joy, it's like, why is that a prize if you paid for it? It's just like a way to show your accomplishment, in my opinion, and you can like reward yourself in other ways too. I can't have ice cream, but I probably would have taken myself out to ice cream if I were able to do that. And I also got this really cool poster when I completed the challenge. That's just something that you can give yourself to look forward to if that helps you. It can be really rewarding if you have something besides like a 50,000 word draft at the end. Another thing is to form good phone habits. Not that I don't like social media, but it can be a problem when you're trying to focus on your draft. I promised myself, and I actually made a contract, to not touch social media until I had finished my scene count for the day. That really helped because it gave me a short-term incentive. You guys know how much I love talking to you. And then it gave me a long-term incentive in that I was able to complete it each day without getting distracted by my phone. And then I would say the final thing is to form routine. Whatever times you do choose to write, I would say stick to them. And this is not to like force routine on you. I would say that even if you don't need routine, routine helps you. Like, for example, if you know you're going to be writing at 8 a.m., you can say, okay, I can't sleep in until 8 because then at that time I'm going to have to write. That's just one example. If you're dealing with writer's block, writing buddies are super important, especially in these competitions. Have a writing buddy who's also doing it, so you can be like accountability partners. And then the other thing is write in different places. People like to write in one particular spot. I like to write in my bedroom, but it can be really helpful to get out there. And last year I did a whole week writing at a cafe. I would like bring my schoolwork to the cafe, finish school, and then I would write. And then I did another week at my local mall. And both times that really helped me get out of the writer's block, writing depression sort of phase, and focus on my writing in a new setting, a new place. So those are my tips on how to plan and prepare before and during NaNoWriMo. These tips are not guaranteed to help you complete it in 3 weeks. I'm very abnormal in that. However, it will help you complete it in the time limit. One way that you can prepare and plan for your novel is to start Preptober, and I'll be including a link down in the description to Preptober that I used. And that can really help you if you need a place on how to begin planning your book. And that's just all I have to say on this. I hope that this video was helpful. Please leave your thoughts down in the description and let me know if you want more of these writing tips videos. I'm trying to take my channel in a couple of different directions, and I want to know what sort of content you guys would like to see from this channel. But for now, that's all I have to say. I love you guys. I thank you for watching, and God bless you all.